Hey Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins.
And I'm Paul Hankins.
And you're on the air with Power Squared. This week we're going to, put to bed Comic-Con 2022. We're going to sort of recap our experience. Paul, you did a really good video, which is also up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Called SDCC 2022 Vlog. So I encourage people to check that out.
That vlog was the first time I decided to do post narration instead of what we did last time, which was compiling a bunch of footage that we took in real time. The idea behind doing the post narration was we could more experience the con in the moment instead of like stopping to record stuff.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And however, I did suggest taking B-roll at certain moments, so then that way I could more easily put it in a video later.
Was it helpful?
Yeah.
So I try to, video my my walking to someplace.
And I realized I didn't film certain things, but again, I was like experiencing it in the moment, so it was hard to. I'm not the kind of person who is like, oh, I should film this.
Yeah, you kind of wish you could wear like a hat that just had a camera on it and walk around, but you look like a dork.
Yeah, or you could wear a GoPro on your chest or something, or have a guest with you who's a dedicated camera.
Okay.
Which I'm sure some people do.
Yeah, I'm sure people do. We're not.
Theoretically, that video should have come out the week before. However, I spent some time writing a script based on our thoughts and like while it was fresh in our heads. And then it took me I picked a day to film, and then it took me a couple days to put it together because I'm not very quick with video editing, and I was doing more complex stuff than I would normally do.
Okay. Well, we're not. So again, I wrote about the experience on my blog.
Yeah.
You did a vlog, and we're going to do this podcast, and I think that'll be the end of it.
Yeah. For a year.
Yeah. Next year we'll talk about getting ready, and anyway. So I know we were apprehensive about going.
Yeah.
Because of COVID has not gone away, even though everyone wants to pretend it has.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like they took a lot of precautions.
Yeah.
You had to show proof of vaccination and wear a
orange wristband.
Yeah, that said you had been tested, or not tested, but passed inspection. Yeah. And then
that was a proof of vaccination.
Which I had a lot of fun with mine. While we were standing in line, I went to the restroom and came back. I was looking down. I didn't have it on anymore. Like, what happened to it?
Fortunately, you found it.
Yeah, I also realized that it was there because nobody needed one.
Yeah.
If it had been something that you had to have, but you could get that far and not have it, then it would probably been gone. It was just there.
And mine slipped off once in the hotel room.
Mine did too. So it's part of it. We were wearing gloves.
Yeah.
And they get caught up in the glove.
So then I was a lot more careful.
So mine had to be stapled and taped back together. Yeah. It was really kind of.
For a while, for a little bit after the con, I also felt like a phantom wristband.
You could kind of feel the.
It didn't help that it was a paper wristband, so it got all moist and gross by the end of it.
Yeah, but and then the other wristband I wish we still had was the Ozzy Osbourne one.
Yeah, that would have been a cool souvenir, but unfortunately they
snipped that off.
Yeah, clipped that off. You
Yeah.
couldn't let me have that?
Yeah, made me wear it.
After what you put us through?
Yeah, so what we're referring to is the signing on Friday?
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne was...
Which, by the way, in the vlog, I almost subtitled Friday the Ozzy Rant.
Ozzy Osbourne was at the... I forget the name, pinball people.
Stern
Pinball, which you kind of like, why Stern Pinball? But he was there signing a poster with Todd McFarlane and two other people.
Yeah.
We've since learned who they were.
And I've since forgot.
Okay. But they were the artists of the comic book.
Yeah, so Ozzy was putting on album Patient Number 9, so they were hyping the album and a comic based on the album.
Right.
And Todd McFarlane drew the cover, which was what was on the thing.
So the idea was
Yeah.
it was a lottery to get in to see him.
Yeah. Before that, I was gonna say I think Stern Pinball. They probably it was Stern Pinball probably had something to do with it because I know Nuclear Blast has hosted Stern Pinball before.
Uh-huh.
So, and I think Stern Pinball has done machines based on metal artists.
Well,
So I think that's kind of the connection.
it seemed like an odd, it seemed weird there was pinball there anyway. But
Yeah. So anyway,
and the fact that they were hosting it, but it was a lottery to get in, which I understand it's good to have a lottery,
yeah,
but didn't know if they actually eliminated anybody because there was a really long line of people. But I don't like the feeling like, I guess it's better that it was online and maybe kind of random than we've had it where you stand in line and they go, oh, nope, sorry, not you.
Takahashi was like you get there into a line early in the morning and then you random draw.
Yeah,
we were super lucky when we had like godly luck when we got to.
Right, but and that's the kind of like, I was in line.
Yeah.
Why don't I get the ticket? Why is it a random lottery? That was kind of a. But
so it was good, at least better that they eliminated the wait in line for the lottery process.
But you still had to wait in line
for like a couple hours.
Yeah, to get a wristband. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that was good enough to get you into the line again to get the poster.
Yeah.
And then it was sort of disorganized from that point on.
Yeah.
I think I got in line around 11 because I know how it works.
Yeah, the impression was disorganized from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, anyway, so I stood in line for an hour, and then you realize it's 12 o'clock and the line hasn't moved, and like 12:15, Ozzy arrives.
Finally.
Yeah, which was a little, I know he's a big star and all that, but there are a lot of people whose schedule you're now effing with.
Yeah, I know our schedule was kind of warped around, revolved around being able to see him.
Yeah, and but it's us times 100, 200 or 300 people that you've just sort of messed with because you came in late, and it's not like it was 8 a.m. It was noon, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But anyway, then so finally, and I had a panel I wanted to go to, a Kickstarter panel, because we knew the people that were actually doing it.
Apologies to Cat Calamia.
Yeah. But I kind of felt like I wasn't sure what was going on, and the second signing seemed even less organized. And I kind of felt like if I got out of line, then maybe none of us would end up with a poster.
Yeah.
And it was sort of I guess I'll say the father in me took over from the professional in me, and I waited it out, and got. Now the fun part was they were signing posters, but you didn't actually get the poster that you saw him sign. It was a pre-signed poster, and you can see it's got Ozzy Osbourne, Ozzy and Todd McFarlane, and these two artists.
One of them was Jason Sean Alexander.
Okay.
And I forgot the other one.
All right.
Just Jonathan G.
Okay.
I'll just say it. I apologize.
That's fine.
It's in the video.
So you wait for an hour and 15 minutes, and you can't talk to Ozzy. You can't take a photograph. I was like, is he shy suddenly? You can't take a photograph of Ozzy Osbourne. But they were trying to get everybody just to keep going by. And you had maybe 3 seconds to look at him when you realized there's Ozzy Osbourne, and you moved on. He wasn't looking at you or trying to make eye contact or anything.
Yeah.
And then there's
Jonathan Gallopin.
Okay. Got it in.
Yeah.
And so there's a person at the end of the thing. Here's your poster. Come get it. So you keep walking through, and then they cut the wristband off.
Yeah.
Like, okay, thanks. Why can't I keep it? And then you're stuck with this poster, which is we were thinking it maybe be around, a bit larger poster, but it's this size. So then suddenly you have to go find something to put it in, or it's going to get ruined, I figured. And Hot Flips
Yeah.
was a lifesaver, and everybody ended up who, I think I messed it up with this, everybody who got the poster, and you can't see this on the podcast, but imagine that it's a poster of Ozzy Osbourne.
I was going to say glossy 11 by 17.
And they luckily had these top loaders that you could put it in, and once you discover, then everybody who got the poster wanted to go down there, so that guy probably cleaned up.
Yeah.
That day was probably a really good day for him. But the other thing was, you guys still got in line. There was a second signing. It was supposed to be 12 and a 1:10. Like they thought it'd be over by 1 o'clock, I assume.
I almost didn't get in at the end because someone tried to send me over to where the line wasn't.
Right. And then, so you and your brother and your mother all were in line, and you all got posters signed, but they weren't signed. Again, this is great for radio. They were not signed by Todd McFarlane.
Just Ozzy, Jason Sean Alexander, and Jonathan Gallagher.
The three that really count.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like, hey, what happened? It was supposed to be...
The thing on the Comic-Con lottery said, and Todd McFarlane.
Right.
So where was Todd McFarlane?
And while you were there, Ozzy was still signing posters.
Yeah.
And you were at the end of the line.
Yep.
So...
Char and I were the end of the line as far as I'm aware.
So where was, how come Todd McFarlane didn't sign him in advance? I don't know. It was just sort of messed up.
Yeah.
But we have one.
So it was a good thing you stayed.
And somebody offered me $10 for it.
No. not after all that.
Yeah, I said no.
Did you pay with hours of your life? I don't think so.
Yeah. So I offered to sell it to him for $1,000, but he turned me down. But actually, that's what it was selling for on eBay initially.
Yeah.
So, but we're not selling it.
No, we're not. Not for sale.
No. Anyway, so that was kind of I think kind of the biggest, I'll say, fiasco.
Yeah.
Of the thing, because it did sort of mess up. I'm sorry we couldn't go to the Kickstarter panel. I'd like to have gone.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's information I'll never find out. And all Kickstarters were failed because I didn't go. But I think it was, you got something cool, but there's always a Comic-Con. Every time we go to Comic-Con, you always see somebody walking around with something and go, where'd you get that?
Yeah.
And I kind of felt for at least a little bit that I had that, where'd you get that?
Now I am the one.
Yes.
As the thing people.
Yeah, that was kind of a little, kind of a interesting experience and also kind of scary at the same time because I don't want you to take it from me. I don't want you to touch it or whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
It kind of reminds me of something I remember I got years ago when Yokai Watch was more relevant in the West. I got into it, and one of the things I got was a Jewel Neon set from the Hasbro booth. And I saw a review of it on somewhat humorous review of it online afterwards, and there was a line from it that stuck with me, which was the epitome of small victories.
That's kind of true.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the biggest fiasco. What was and I went to several panels that didn't really pan out for me.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I went to one where I was hoping to get information about enamel pen. I thought that'd be kind of a cool thing to make enamel pens for Power Squared, but it was about people who make their own and are trying to sell them and or know each other, and it's a little, it wasn't really informative or how you could break in or how you could have your own pens made or anything like that, which was okay, not that great. And there was one about how to be your own comic book creator, and you would have to have a lot of software and spend a lot of time learning about software.
Yeah.
And it just...
Honestly, with the video, there were so many that didn't pan out. I didn't bother naming all of them.
No, yeah. And it was, it also would not look like our comic book looks. It would have this 3D kind of look to it.
Yeah, that wouldn't work well for us.
No. And then there was one about I'm lost in a sea of content. So I was like, hey, we're lost in a sea of content.
And?
These people, well, it was their little stories, but they seem like they're not really lost so much in this content as, they have, they do a YouTube show, and someone does reporting, someone does makes fashion. They all have booths. One of the guys was even there doing a signing up in the sales pavilion.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you're lost in content, nobody would know. They wouldn't have you up there signing stuff. Or
was it just them telling stories, or did they actually give any advice?
Not really any advice.
Again, this is why I said in the video, like, and they wonder why instructional panels don't really fill up, because it feels like a lot of the instructional panels are barely instructional.
Well, sometimes
or they don't impart much wisdom, if at all.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because we were trying to do more informative stuff.
Right. So the best panels that we went to were not. Well, you went to one about middle grade fiction.
Yeah, magical middle grade. The camera got all
sorry.
out of focus. Focus on that, and
it's like a head rush for the video.
Yeah, magical middle grade.
Mm-hmm.
They were. It wasn't really like it wasn't meant to be like an advice panel,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the 5 middle grade authors talking about their experience. And it was actually very interesting. Like, one of them said like how surprisingly difficult middle grade is to write for compared to like YA or adult. And I get the feeling at least one or two of them might have written for multiple demographics.
Right.
But again, it was interesting hearing them talking about their experience, how they got into writing middle grade, and what they viewed as like the importance of writing middle grade, because like at that point in your life is when fiction can help you a lot, especially in the case of one of the authors, if it can help you get more in touch with who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and help you understand yourself better. And kids also see kids going through these experiences in the books, and that can help them either give them an escape or help them with something in their life.
And this is kind of when I'm not trying to go down this road, but this is kind of when stories about gay teens or whatever, they can see, oh, this is kind of me, and find themselves in these kind of books, right?
Yeah. And they also answered questions that were themed after their books.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's see, School for Good and Evil. A question themed after that was like, would you go to the school for good or the school for evil?
Right.
Funny, only one of them hard said like the school for good.
Because evil would be more fun, I guess.
Basically.
Yeah.
Or like evil, but try to sneak into the school of good.
What was it? Was it Billy Joel said only the good die young? So,
yeah. Another one was like themed after Freddy versus the Family Curse,
Mm-hmm.
and the question was basically like, if you could talk to a dead ancestor or relative, then who would you talk to? So the answer, it was interesting how the answers varied and why. But anyway, that was a actually fun panel, and sort of reinforced my notion of wanting to write a middle grade book.
I would imagine that's kind of a, it's not YA, it's not, young people to a point, but you have to sort of be careful not to go too far or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain kind of parameters for things.
Yeah. There's upper middle grade, which sort of is like, I guess you could say YA light,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that it can start to approach subject matter that's more common in YA without being YA.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I guess it gets to as close as it can without being that.
So what is the age group?
8 to 12.
8 to 12
is middle grade.
Okay, and you can have some very successful stories in that group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
Because because of that, I've also been reading a lot of once I figured out my book would be middle grade, I started reading a lot of middle grade stuff, mostly borrowing them from the library to save money.
Right.
And it's actually fun reading that stuff even as an adult.
Okay.
Or at least it can be, because there's always, no matter what the demographic or the medium, there's always like good stuff and not so good stuff.
And David Sedaris told you to contact his agent, right, when you were ready to send in your book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't hit it. At least now I have a direction.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, with Magical Middle Grade, there was also a signing, so I bought some of the books.
Yes.
And I can show them all.
Sure, why not? They're paid for.
And this is, I bought from 4 of the authors. It's not a knock against the 5th one.
Right, just didn't interest you.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. You don't have to buy from everybody.
Yeah. So we got the first School for Good and Evil book, which is also being adapted into a Netflix movie being directed by Paul Feig. So
could be good, could be Paul Feig. Yeah.
Keeper of the Lost Cities, the first book.
Okay.
Honestly, the thickness is a little intimidating.
Yeah, some of these books can be really long.
Yeah.
Did they talk about that at all?
Shannon Messenger actually talked about how she has to keep her books it's a little it's more stressful for her compared to the other authors that were there, because she writes 800-page books or whatever, or she writes really long books and she has really tight deadlines, so she has to constantly write to meet the deadlines. Right. So that also affects how her output.
So, as an example, was Harry Potter considered a middle grade book?
Yes, actually. And
some
people think it's YA, but it's actually middle grade.
And some of those books are 800 pages long. I mean, yeah.
Well, it doesn't help that, from my understanding, in America we got the unabridged versions of the Harry Potter books.
Okay.
Whereas in the UK they got the actually edited versions.
Okay, because it seemed
So we have exclusive stuff.
Reading some of it, I'm like, this could be edited a little bit, but okay, that's
I don't know how they released that stuff.
Okay, but it just they're 800 pages long. That's a lot for you got to really hold somebody's interest.
Yeah. So the others that more immediately interested me were Freddy versus the Family Curse.
Okay.
And Wretched Water Park.
Okay.
And with Wretched Water Park, I'm remembering one of the questions also was theme park food.
Mm-hmm.
And they mentioned that what was funny about the question was churros are actually important to the story. Because the lack of churros is how they figure out that they're not in.
Okay. That would be sort of a staple.
Yeah. While I was at Comic-Con, I also picked up another book that I saw on a lot of middle grade lists.
Okay.
It was the graphic novel Smile.
Okay, and is that about somebody wearing braces?
I actually did not read the blurb yet, but I think it's because the main character wears braces.
Okay.
At least that's why the cover.
Yeah.
So I figured I should read it. I guess the author was supposed to be there, but I saw something crossed out at the Scholastic booth, so I guess that got canceled for one reason or another, which is understandable, I suppose.
I did pick up a graphic novel while I was there called Fade Out.
Yeah.
By Ed Brubaker, and I finished it. It was kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
It's it was good, but not. I don't know. The ending kind of was a little, for me, could have been a little better. But that's just, I had expectations.
Yeah.
That weren't met. But anyway, what do you got?
So I also got something from Image.
Sure.
Stray Dogs, which we both went into it completely blind,
Okay.
and it's actually really good. I can see why it was a sleeper hit for them.
What attracted you to it?
Well, one thing that sometimes attracts us to a work is the art style looks interesting.
Okay.
In that case, in the Image banner, the art style for Stray Dogs more immediately stood out from everything else. So that made us curious. Or that made Trevor curious. So then when we got it, and then after, as it turns out, they also just released a follow-up companion called Dog Days.
Okay.
Which Sure and I have also both read, and that's also worth reading as well.
Okay. Maybe we'll have that be
Book club.
book club. Yes, if you're
Potential book club. So.
Yeah. We have started a book club, which we had the inaugural episode last week.
Yes. For Spy Family.
Yeah. Instead of talking about Comic-Con, then we talked about Spy Family, and so we're reading Black Sad for the next time, which is September.
For Black Sad, we're going to read the first 3 stories.
Right. Because of the different collections that are available.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. What else did you get?
Well, among the other stuff I got, there were some signings that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was for Charlie Benante from Anthrax. So he signed this.
Okay.
That right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I also got him to sign the album For All Kings because that one folds out and has the portraits of the band members. So he signed his portrait.
That's pretty cool. And you saw Anthrax.
Yeah. I saw them live at the Weltern in 2017. I actually checked the shirt that I got from there. And what was really cool about that show is that was the only time they played Carry On Wayward Son live.
The Kansas song?
Yeah, they covered it.
I'm sure it was pretty good.
Yeah. They actually got a keyboardist just for that song for the live show.
Interesting.
So it's the only time they ever played that. So he said we were really lucky to
cool.
see that.
That was thanks to Sirius XM.
Yes.
What else? So what was your favorite panel?
Okay, favorite panel. Trying to remember the ones I went to. So it was Magical Metal Grade, 2 video game panels, and one for Hamster and Gretel.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, the video game panel, the video game career panels, which were both about different ways of getting in, were both legitimately informative, and I learned some actual advice. Like,
you mean instructional panel was instructional?
Yeah, like I finally learned how to network.
Oh, good.
Someone finally explained networking to me instead of just saying, go network.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times, if you haven't been to a panel, they say, and you should do this, but they don't tell you how to actually do that.
Yeah. So this time, I like that they actually said how to do it.
Good.
And let's see, Magical Middle Grade was really fun, and so was Hamster and Gretel, surprisingly.
We went to 2 about animation. One about 80s animation.
Yeah, we also went to an X-Men panel and one about writing for TV animation in the 80s.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting, the stories and how they all kind of, there was one woman that kind of made all their careers work.
Yeah.
I forgot her name. But, yeah, it was a...
Yeah, so just as a reminder, if we didn't mention certain names while we're talking about things from Comic-Con, that's just because we don't remember.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's just a bad memory.
We're not slighting anybody.
It's just a bad memory.
That was almost 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was kind of hearing people's experiences.
Yeah.
Was kind of enlightening and somewhat, I'm sure, applicable to today, but also at the same time probably unique to the time.
Yeah.
Because the 80s and that whole sounds like it was kind of a wide open Wild West for a little while.
Yeah.
You always hear about when people like, I broke in, blah, blah, doing something, and it was like, oh, that doesn't exist anymore. That opportunity's not there, or whatever.
Yeah. And the X-Men panel was interesting because we learned about the production of X-Men, some amount of the production of X-Men the Animated Series, and how they actually found out about the popularity of the show and how they have reacted to it over the years. Like I said in the video, it's amazing how passionate that fan base is, even though the show ended decades ago. I guess it also helps that they're going to put out X-Men 97 on Disney Plus.
But it was a full
house.
Yeah. That was
pretty much.
Yeah, and that was one thing that was kind of interesting about Comic-Con. A lot of the panels weren't full.
Yeah. And
I think there was less people, and I think more people were being cautious about stuff. But,
yeah.
One of my experiences is it seemed like it was easier to get around.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much. There weren't as many people, and there weren't some really big exhibitors there, so it seemed like there was more room for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not what Comic-Con's looking for. Yeah, less exhibitors, but it just sort of seemed like it just seemed more open for some reason.
Yeah.
And there weren't as many pinch points as there used to be.
Yeah.
Viz, which I did on preview night, was like a breeze.
Yeah.
And usually it's like, stand in line, see you next week kind of a deal.
Yeah.
They almost shut it down the last time we were there because of how Viz handled the sign, some line. They almost shut down Comic-Con because of that. That's what they claimed they were going to do. I think they'd have a riot on their hand.
They threatened to shut it down.
They'd have a riot on their hand. It's because of this, everybody's got to go home.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that it's kind of weird that I look forward to about San Diego is the food.
Yeah. There are certain restaurants we like to hit up.
Yeah, and shout outs to the Old Spaghetti Factory.
Yes, it's a staple for us.
That was,
for sure.
Yeah, and it was like I felt like we were prisoners just out of prison getting to eat our first meal. It was really good. And then we went to Indio.
Yeah.
And we went to
Lucha Libre
and Pizza Ibera.
Yeah.
Which is a pizza place, and he kind of felt special because the guy remembered us from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't know our names, but he goes, "You were here 3 years ago." Yeah, wow.
And other people also remembered us from 3 years ago, the artist who does Inky Drop, plushes. She remembered us from 3 years ago,
right?
2 or 3 years ago. I forget the last time we saw her, but she remembered us, so that was cool, even though we were wearing masks.
Yeah.
Then Sir Richard, who we have, who we're gonna invite to be on the show.
Right. That was also a first for us, is actually asking somebody we talked to be on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, she recognized us after 3 years, even though we were wearing masks. It was the same with Chris Ayers, who does Daily Zoo.
Right. You remember?
And works at
Oh, cool.
And works at. He also works on Monsters at Work.
Which was a good series.
Yeah.
It still is, I guess. They're still working on it.
Yeah. Anyway, it was actually interesting how many people recognized us or remembered us after 3 years.
Yeah, that was weird, isn't it? And talking to people, it's weird how you can kind of recognize people even if they're wearing a mask.
Yeah. And
one of my favorite moments or memories from that was John Barber kind of met with us on a personal level and talked. It was nice. I like that.
Yeah.
It's connecting with people. John Barber, who's been on the show, used to be the editor at IDW, editor-in-chief at IDW.
Yeah.
We'd met through a lot of different cons, and he was nice. It was kind of like a friendly thing. It wasn't like there was no agenda or whatever. That was nice. I really, that was kind of felt like, oh, I kind of made it. Somebody's famous is talking to me like I'm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I really enjoyed that. All right.
Yeah, I think the one thing that was not very enjoyable about the con was the lack of carpeting in
Yes.
the exhibit hall. That made a
very
big
hard.
difference.
Yeah. That was probably a cost-cutting measure.
Yeah.
But you would think, I don't know.
There was like one day where I could like barely walk after that.
Yeah, that's one thing that you get. You end up walking a lot, and some people walk more than others, obviously. But you can walk 7 or 8 miles.
Yeah.
Especially because nothing is, everything's spread out. I mean, we had a panel at the library, which was like 7/10 of a mile away, right?
Yeah.
And then I went from that to a panel that was in Hall A, or right above Hall A. So it was, it's a long commute to get to a mile to get to a panel. And then the for Hansel and
Hamster and Gretel.
Hamster and Gretel, sorry. I'm sure I'm not the first person to do that. Hamster and Gretel, they gave us...
to be fair, we've almost said that. So
they gave us
a
ticket for, I'll say a prize.
Yeah, for a giveaway.
Giveaway, okay.
Exclusive giveaway.
Right. And that was like, that might as well be in, another city to walk to that thing. It's the next hotel over, which is kind of like, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's kind of like, the closest thing I can think of is in Vegas. When you walk from one hotel to another, it's like, a mile.
Yeah.
Because the hotels are big.
Yeah.
And this was, you had to walk all the way over there to get this. And they already had run out of part of it, which I bet they didn't get, is my guess. Because we got there when they opened, and we were there when they got the ticket after they closed.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was. But we got that. That was fun, and actually that made me feel better about that show.
Yeah.
Because it was, and then as I was watching the panel, I was thinking, oh, he's doing it with his kid, and it's sort of based on him. And where does he get off? Like, oh wait, Power Squared's kind of a little. I'm working with my family, and it's kind of okay. Yeah, so that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was it was kind of this weird revelation for me. It's like, wait a minute. Oh yeah. Well,
yeah. Like I said in the video, I wasn't sure at first with Hamster and Gretel because of how Milo Murphy's Law Season 2 turned out.
Yeah. The Doofenshmirtz show.
Yeah, it turned into the Doofenshmirtz show there. But the way they talked about Hamster and Gretel gave me some hope for it.
What was a little scary was they talked about, will Doofenshmirtz make an appearance? And, well, maybe. Like, oh, God, please don't.
I think that's just his way of, like, confirming or, like, not confirming and not confirming.
Yeah, but I mean...
like, not saying one way or the other.
Yeah. And it didn't really show, they showed the opening.
They showed they basically showed the cold open from the first episode.
Right. And then stopped it, and so
because they're not.
What?
I think if they were screening an episode, they would have labeled it as a screening.
Right. I'm not blaming them for that, but we didn't get to see really anything beyond that, so you don't really know. Supposedly the hamster's really good.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get a sense of that from the.
But for now, I just have to take their word for it.
Right. So anyway, so that was interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to go to something and not so sure, and you come out and go, oh, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mom also went to. She saw a couple panels at the Hilton.
Without us.
Yeah, the Hilton Bayfront. She saw the Smiling Friends and the Primal panels.
Mm-hmm.
She was really there for Primal, but she sat through Smiling Friends.
That's right.
She also sat through Gremlins.
Right.
Panel, but we don't really care about that.
Right.
Anyway, I was able to watch the Smiling Friends panel later on YouTube because someone recorded it.
Yeah.
And that's a show I like, and the panel was like really funny.
Sometimes with, they seem to record most of the panels,
yeah.
but they don't necessarily do something with them, and then a lot of it has to do with legal issues. I mean, it's copyright stuff, and you gotta get clearances and all that.
Yeah.
That was one of the ideas behind Comic-Con HQ, SVOD service that kind of didn't quite get off the ground as much as they wanted to, and they wanted to use those kind of panels as part of what they would offer.
Yeah.
But it was hard to get clearances, and everybody in the panel has to get, so.
Yeah, it was like legal stuff was
Yeah.
stopping them from doing that.
Right. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with
Comic-Con? I think I felt more exhausted this time because it had been 3 years
Yeah.
and I wasn't used to walking that much.
Yeah, it was again, it's a lot of walking, and
Yeah, I think it would have helped if it was carpeted.
probably a little bit. All right. Anything else?
I think that's about it.
Okay.
So if you are watching this on YouTube later and you like this, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more.
All right. So until next time, I'm David Hankins.
And I'm Paul Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.